those who were involved in making it come to life. Join us as we go behind the door.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Door. This is for Season 2, Episode 6 of the Grey Rooms podcast. The story is The Hedgehog Family. With us today we have author Jennifer Winters.
Hi there everybody.
We have actor Erin Lillis.
Hello.
We have our audio engineer and sound designer Jason Wilson.
Hey, what's going on?
So creepy. And I am the social media manager and Patreon manager, Brooks Bigley. Wow, Jennifer, your story just floored me. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
First off, what did you think? Like, I love to ask the authors, what did you think hearing it for the first time?
It was just perfect. That was what I texted to all my friends and family. This is just perfect. I can't wait for you to hear it. The production quality was wonderful. And of course, I love Erin.
Right.
I worked with Erin on
NoSleep.
NoSleep. Lord have mercy. How could I blank on that? And I was just
Because
so
you've had
happy with
NoSleep.
it. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I was just thrilled. It was, if I had, I don't know, when I write, I kind of see it and hear it in my head, and that it just matched. It was a perfect match. I just thought it was wonderful. I did.
That's perfect. Yeah, Jason's really good at sussing out I want to say visuals because it's what we kind of think, the visuals in our head. But he's really good at taking the words that you write and just making this landscape of audio beauty. It was perfect.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. And dude, the artwork that went along with it.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I actually have that.
Cassie's amazing.
I printed that out in high quality, and I need to run over and get a frame at some point because I just loved it.
Oh, so you do have a good one. I was going to say, we'll totally get you a nice, big, blown-up version if you want.
Actually, I would love that.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay. All right. See me after the show.
See, he said see an audio recording.
See me after the show.
What a joker.
But
And Erin, how did you feel narrating this story? Like, what was your take? What did you think about this story?
I read it through first, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what happens. Glad I read it through first. Sometimes I don't. And that has been a lesson that I have learned, that I need to read it first so I know where it's going. And thankfully I did. Because I was like, oh, thank God I read that.
I can imagine if you...
Not only that, but like...
Perfect.
Right? But like, oh shit, I got to start over. But not only that, but like, you don't reveal that she's a bodybuilder until a few pages in. So I would have done the wrong voice too, I think. Although this is my normal voice, so I don't know. It really would have been different. But
I'll make that a
also,
ringtone.
Ring, ring, motherfucker.
Oh.
You got that? So you can use that later? Okay.
There we go. We got that. We're going to make that. That'll come out.
Okay.
Season 3, ringtone.
Oh my gosh. This is awesome.
So I knew what was happening. I knew how to build it. And then, but each listening and each recording. So like recording it, I understood one way, and then editing it, I understood more of it. And then listening to the final production, I caught even more stuff that I didn't pick up on.
Yes. I was telling Jennifer that earlier.
So many little clues
in
there.
In general, over and over again. You could listen to this 5 different times. Yeah. It's amazing.
That makes me feel so happy. I do have to tell you this. My cousin, who lives in the Appalachian Mountains, I looked at the artwork and she said, this artwork is so PG. I thought this was a scary story. I said, dude, look
a little closer.
Take your time. And then
yeah, zoom in on different parts of the artwork.
Like 5 minutes later, I get another message. Oh my God.
Yes.
Cassie.
Yeah. Cassie she buried, like how you buried clues in the story. She kind of buried little references that you don't notice right away. You have to go back and find. And actually, I don't get me. Let's see. Don't quote me here. I think there's something like 20 different things kind of hidden in that artwork.
Oh man, can we make it like
might be less, maybe 15.
A Grey Room's hidden object game?
Actually, that's what we're doing with it.
That's what we're planning. By the time people hear this, it'll already have happened. But yes, that's what we're planning. So did you go back? Like, did you write like your rough draft, Jennifer, and then did you go back and start inserting clues, or was that already kind of a part of the idea of the story as you went?
I sort of. I'm an English teacher, so I'm big on outlining and having a writing process. So I outlined just the general action, and then I wrote the story. But then you figure out you have to fix things like, how's she going to be strong enough to do this? This requires a lot of physical strength. So I had to go back and add that she was a bodybuilder. And then, how's she going to dig and get through the what is it called? The vault that they put the coffins in.
Oh yeah.
So I had to get online and say, how do you dig a grave? And they said, oh, a backhoe. That's right. So I had to go back later and make sure that there were the details that would make the plot work if people really start thinking hard about it.
Right.
Yeah, all those details really work. Like, for example, on the third listening, I noticed that she only lived a mile away from the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
It was through a forest path that she got there, so she could do everything unseen. It was like on the outskirts of town, so nobody was there on the regular.
And that graveyard, that is a real place.
Of course it is.
Oh.
It's actually, I'm from, where I'm from is right on the Mississippi-Tennessee state line. Just across the state line is where my mom's family is from. And there's a small family cemetery for some of her people. And the last time that we went out there, and it takes forever to get there because a lot of the drive over is on a one-lane dirt road, not even gravel. And the last time that we went there, when I was home for a visit, there was a new grave. And I was thinking, who gets buried out here? So people still occasionally do get buried out there.
And unburied.
And unburied. And on that trip, too, I noticed a house. I'd never noticed this house before. It was a really nice house. It was an old house with a long driveway kind of back in the woods between the main road and the graveyard. And so I kind of just filed that away in my memory. And then when I got the idea for the story, I used it.
So that is kind of what inspired you to write the story, or you still had the idea, but then you decided to put it in this setting because of that?
I got the idea. I don't know. I was kind of thinking about all the really gruesome movies that I watched in the 80s when I was in high school. And there were several movies where people would steal bodies to populate their home. And then I remember when I was probably about 15, I read a story where an undertaker who actually had a home in the funeral home had set up this kind of tableau for a family. And he was just not burying people. But he never gave into the fantasy. All through the story, you knew exactly what was happening. And he knew he was just a very lonely, desperate man. He knew that they were embalmed bodies. He never pretended that they were alive or thought that they were alive. And even then, I remember thinking this would have been better if, like, you thought he was just hanging out with his family, and at the end, you found out they weren't really alive. And I don't remember who wrote it. I don't remember the name of it, but it obviously made enough of an impression that I remember thinking. So for some reason, honest to God, I don't know why that story popped into my head. And then I started thinking about, I think there was one called I don't remember, it was called Mortuary or something like that, an old 80s slasher movie where this guy was digging up bodies and having a birthday party or something like that. Because he didn't have any friends. And so it just kind of came from there. Just things from my memory and stuff. It just kind of all comes together. Yeah.
Well, I feel like your story is just so unique because it's, I hope you don't be offended by this label. It's kind of like horror romance almost. And it was like a slow burn into.
It's a rom horror.
It's a rom horror.
It's a rom horror.
I knew it. You heard it here first.
Totally right.
We need all those genres.
I'm writing that down right now.
There you go.
I want to use that. You know what? You mentioned kind of like a romance. I can't stand romance novels. I don't like romantic movies. And so one thing that I was trying to do with it was kind of do the anti-romance. I just said, my husband just came by and patted me on the head when I said I don't like romance.
Good job.
Oh boy, all the secrets come out today.
Oh dear.
Well, so I appreciated how it was like a slow burn of you didn't let us know that something wrong was going on. We were able to see everything through her eyes, and it just felt like I kind of felt some kind of sadness in her heart that she was trying to overcome. And clearly by the end, we figured out the sadness she was how she overcame that sadness, so to speak, to create her family. But I appreciated that
lonely person.
Right. And that comes through well that you are sympathizing with her, but you would never sympathize with her if right away you knew something was wrong. It would be more like, all right, I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm just waiting to find out what fucked up stuff she did. Well, so that really adds to the story.
Yeah, and a lot of my stories, because I am from a small rural town, I do a lot of stuff, even though I really only write horror. I do a lot of stuff about, small town, the good and bad side of small towns, and how, even no matter how nice this person was, if everybody thought that, if everybody hated her grandma and her grandma raised her, that would be it. That would be it. They would maybe, say hello in the street, but nobody would want to be close to her. Because she was that woman's granddaughter. So I wanted to work that in there too. Kind of the small town, the dark side of the small town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Every town has one.
Well, where'd if you don't mind me asking, the most important part of the story is the hedgehog. Where'd he come from?
Why, thank you for asking, Erin. My friends got a hedgehog for Christmas, and they were putting on these adorable little videos and pictures of their hedgehog. And it is the cutest little thing you've ever seen in your life. It's so adorable. And I thought, ooh, I want to write a scary story with a hedgehog. So the hedgehog story was actually a separate story. And then I realized that I needed some sort of kind of inciting incident for the main character to kind of make that break with reality. And I thought, ooh, that's for the hedge. So I took elements of another story that I'd really kind of just outlined and worked in. And that's how the hedgehog got there.
That's cool.
I found it kind of weird, synchronistic, if you will, that I had this little, it's not taxidermied, but it was a little fake hedgehog. Wow. And he was sat on my bookshelf for, years. And then I got the story. I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what the hedgehog looks like. I know exactly what to do with this hedgehog.
That's awesome.
That's another crazy parallel. Every story, some kind of little puzzle piece, and you just sit back and scratch your head like, wow, really? That's
wow.
Yeah.
So, Erin,
yes.
What was your favorite part about narrating the story? And were there any, not like recording challenges, but did you have any challenges finding the voice or trying to convey her a certain way, anything like that?
No, I think I really just did it sort of on the nose, if you will. I had met a female bodybuilder once in my life, and she had a really deep register. And through conversation with that person, it had come out that they had done a lot of experimentation with testosterone and steroids in their muscle building. So I'm like, well, okay, so if she's a muscle builder, she probably has a deeper register, and that might be too on the nose. So I did lower my register for it. And then I tried to also kind of slow my pace a little, because I know I have a tendency to talk too fast. So I tried to slow it down a bit and really sort of channel like a Xena Amazonian type of woman.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I am conscious that she was a bodybuilder, you know, and my interpretation of like the way you carried her voice, the way you played her, was just that her deep voice was because she was depressed and she was just like, oh, my life, ugh. And that was my interpretation. I didn't even think that like, oh, she's a female bodybuilder, therefore she's going to have a deep voice. So it's interesting how we all have, I mean, you're the actor, so your interpretation is the most important, but interesting how we all hear what we want to hear.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't even think about the depression aspect. I just went for, she's probably got something in her system. She's got all these muscles. She carries herself slowly and strategically because of the way she moves.
Yeah. Well, and what I love too is, because I've always told you this before about your voice, is you have that smile in your voice, and you didn't let that smile come out. Huh? Yeah,
you've told me that before, and then I listen back, and I'm like, damn, I do always sound like I'm smiling. I think it's because I have so much damn fun narrating horror.
But, right. Yes, you love what you're doing.
But if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known.
you didn't let that smile come out in the first part of the story. But as you know, Henry is getting involved, and Sir Anthony Hedgehog you could hear that smile slowly coming back up to the point that you posted the pictures on Facebook. So again, your acting is just you don't even know how good your acting is.
I know.
But you know what? I did notice that I had a voice double in some scenes. And I was like,
a voice double?
Yeah, because I was recognizing as I was listening, hey, that's not my laugh. That's not my grunt. Oh. So I think you must have had, was it Sarah Ruth that doubled for my more feminine laughter?
No.
Jason, what's going on there?
I hate to admit, I just pulled it out of my stock, and I just I actually just went in there and adjusted the depth. Made it either. I adjusted the pitch. Boy, I couldn't friggin' figure out the word there. That's
you're welcome to record my laughter if you ever want to use it. If you
need just a library of different noises.
Mine's like about to have a panic attack laugh that you can.
There, if I could share a brief story, there was a story I recorded for Jason for a Bane story, which we offer as additional content for our Patreon. And I played a character that gets mauled to death by a dog. And I swear to you, I gave the performance of a lifetime to Jason of getting just eaten by this dog and killed by this dog. And then I hear the sounds in the finished story. Nope, that wasn't me dying from the dog. He used some stock yelling. So he does it to everybody. Thanks, Jason.
So the first time that I've had I don't think I did any of these grunting noises and laughter that you probably needed. But it's not the first time I've been replaced for like more feminine sounds. So I'm like, is there a problem that I have? I just don't sound feminine enough for you guys.
Well,
you just need to be you.
I never thought about that. I'll really have to do a lot more self-reflection when I add in extra audio. I definitely don't want to imply anything.
Well, it's also funny because I was listening to the final mix as I was driving with my friend, and I told her in advance that it was a horror story, but that's all I told her. So she was very excited because I am, if anybody didn't know this, I'm gay. So when it got to the parts where it's like, oh, she's going to get busy with the guy, my friend is laughing and preparing for the sex scene. and I am also too, because I'm like, wait, how are they gonna sound design this? Like, is there a sex scene? Is it gonna go down that road? I don't know. And then, like, she was waiting for that part that she totally missed the rest of the story. Like, at the end.
Right. Like,
she's like, oh, sad.
like,
She
who
killed
cares?
everyone.
He's a dude. He's dead.
Yeah.
You're kissing a dead dude. God,
Right?
that's the worst
The
part.
sex scene and send it to her. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been a little disturbing.
Well, I left it out on purpose. I left all that out. I left it out because I wanted people to ponder, just kind of ponder what, if there was any physical relationship at all.
I appreciate that, because the truth be told, when it comes to sound design, whenever I do have to search for grunts or like gasps, anything like that, when it comes to the females, you should hear just how disgusting most of these audio libraries are. It's like, I think I'm calling a 900 or an 800 number half the time. I'm just listening to the sound effects. I'm like, oh my God. I have to go through, 1,000 sound effects to find one of them that doesn't sound like you called some hotline. It's, yeah.
They need to make it really realistic and have people just say, is the door locked? Where are the kids?
Well,
is the dog outside?
Truth be told, actually, whenever this stuff comes out, if you're a voice actor or actress in this, if you want to do the Foley, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, can I ask you, Jennifer, it is implied that there was perhaps a sexual thing, because there's a part where Christy is the narrator,
right.
The character, where she says she notices something about the dirt in the bed, and she hopes that Henry didn't notice her dirty feet. But if you answer this, it's really going to hurt my stomach. But was that because he was laying in her bed?
Can I answer this?
Got there?
Yeah, let Erin answer.
Okay.
Or can I at least, I'm going to answer what I think happened, and then we'll see if I'm right. Because I listened to that a few times, and read it a few times, and it was like, no, okay, so she came in, she dug him up, she brought him in, put him on the couch, because that's where she found him, he was sleeping on the couch with the hedgehog.
Right.
So then she cleaned the sheets, then she cleaned herself up, and then she invited him back in, but I think it was just for a nice snuggle.
Okay. Cool. Well, then we're good then.
That's very sweet.
Exactly what
my stomach doesn't hurt anymore. But Jennifer,
what
tell us.
I thought was, she dug him up, put him on the couch, and then I think I wrote that they talked until like 2:00 in the morning or something like that, and then she went to bed. And I wanted it to be a surprise that he was there. And that's so sweet. He slept on the couch. He's a gentleman. And I thought that she just would have said, "Ooh, my feet must have been really dirty when we were sitting on the couch." But then I think probably as far as the physical relationship goes, and I'm not going to get too detailed because my mama's going to listen to this, and my daddy's going to hear it. I think it was all in her imagination.
Okay.
Physically, if you look at what happens to a body when they embalm it, there's really not a lot you can do.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was mostly in her imagination. Probably he was in the physical, she was physically there with him, but I think it was mostly
right. Right, just the way that he would, quote, talk to her, and she would, quote, hear that as part of the fantasy. Then maybe also as part of the fantasy, his body's just wherever. But she's
completely bought into the illusion. She's all in for it. Then she gets so into it that she makes that big mistake of putting pictures on social media.
Right.
And
but she thought about it, like something in her knew that it might not be a good idea.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Who?
You.
Me?
No.
Oh, yeah, no, I just said, yeah, she clearly was slightly recognizing the disturbance in the fantasy because she was hesitant to post those pictures.
And I think she was tired, too. I think part of the reason that she went ahead and went along with that, I think maybe she was kind of sabotaging herself because physically she was breaking down.
Right.
I think she emotionally, mentally, she must have just been really exhausted at that point. You know, you get to the point that something's got to give. And
Right.
so
I was catching like a split personality almost out of that. Like it was two people in her head. So that's kind of
yeah.
I don't know.
About to be 4, because what I did pick up on the last listen was that she was about to dig up somebody else to be the live-in nanny.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I told, I don't know if I told you, Brooks. I can't remember how I talked about this. The story, as I sent it to you, is a shorter version of a longer piece. And it's, you really do see her getting her, there's more, she gets deeper and deeper and deeper into fooling herself in this illusion. And she does start having more moments of, not really moments of clarity, but just the moments of, it's mentally and physically exhausting. How long can this go on? So, yeah.
And fans of this story can find your extended version coming out in an anthology someday soon, right?
Yeah. It's I think it's going to be called Unleashed, and it's coming out sometime in the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah. If anybody who follows me on Twitter, I'll give more details when it comes out. But it's every story in the anthology is about a pet.
Oh, cute.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a cool
That makes
spin.
the title a lot more interesting, yes.
Yeah. So,
very much so.
Yeah. So,
Can I
we'll definitely help to share that
that
when that happens.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'd like to make another comment about the internal state and the sound design, because I know when I read it, first of all, I asked Graham if I should do all the lines for Henry, because it was going to be too obvious if I did, but it was in her head, so should it be in her voice? And then in the end, you decided to do Graham, I believe, for Henry's voice.
Yeah, it was Graham.
And you also gave sound to the hedgehog, and then the baby. So, but it was an interesting version, because I know if I had done all those voices, it would have been too obvious. But it could have been done in all her voices.
Yeah,
but then that would be almost more like a like when you do just have a single actor. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, audiobook style.
Yeah,
I feel like it was really good to have Graham be Henry, just because it completes the full immersive production style. Yeah.
Well, it also
but I see what you're saying.
It makes the illusion more.
Yeah, it keeps it up until the very end.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the baby sounds, and I love the hedgehog sound. Was that an actual hedgehog?
Actually, I could not regenerate a hedgehog. The closest I could find was a squirrel.
Oh, no, that's different.
They're actually pretty close in sound. And so I just grabbed a squirrel again, messed with the pitch.
You grabbed a squirrel?
Yes, I did. I did. And grabbed the squirrel in my high volume HD recorder, stepped outside, and just looked around a little bit. Sorry, animal control people. My bad. I apologize.
Hardly any animals were harmed.
You just squeeze them every time you need a peep.
Yeah.
Those stress balls or the eyes pop out.
That surprises me. I didn't think a squirrel and a hedgehog sounded alike. I'm learning today.
Similar.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get away with it, obviously, but it was a squirrel. Hedgehogs are really hard to find. The audio for that is pretty dang hard, to be honest.
That's a call out to everyone listening. If you have a hedgehog and a microphone,
yes, you are important. Please call us.
Yeah,
I
really.
I found it on. I found the noise on YouTube. I think a little sound bite.
Of what a hedgehog sounds like.
Yeah, because I didn't know what they sounded like.
It kind of clicks. Yeah. I just totally did that. I don't know why. I just really made the sound that. Okay.
Because it's fun.
It's fun to make animal noises.
Yeah.
Jason, were there any other issues with making this, or did you find it harder or easier to kind of come up with the audio landscape for this story, considering there's more talking versus actual action going on?
Well, no, and actually, when it comes to something that's more of a narrative, you have to listen, or in this case, read for little points of interest that are going to help you develop a three-dimensional environment like that. So it can be hard in some instances, but again, Miss Lillis, such a profound actress that it was really easy to just go off of her cues and just kind of go, just build a world around what she was doing. So it was fun. I really enjoyed making this one.
It was so good. I cannot thank you all enough for making it so wonderful.
Yeah,
it was a fun assignment to be like such a, I don't want to say despicable because she's just lonely, but like she's the loneliest, saddest villain.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't kill anybody, so.
And I remember
no harm, no foul.
I remember talking about this after we had read it a few times when we were going through the submission process, and I was like, because we always have a pretty big requirement that somebody must die, or at least there needs to be an implied death, and that didn't happen here. However, it was such a tragedy. That's what I thought it was. I was more of a tragedy. It was horrific in that sense that I had to use it because it was just a great story. I really liked it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Again, the more I read it,
at the end,
caught all the little nuances here and there, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." I guess it was implied at the end there. Yeah, you're correct. So.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she was committing suicide.
Yeah.
Which also is tragic. So this story I loved the story so much. It was so much fun.
Oh, thank you. I just loved it. And I was so happy to work with you again, Erin.
Yeah, I was I think the last thing I narrated, did I narrate more than one? Because I know I did Weird Church.
You did Weird Church. And I have to tell you,
NoSleep.
Weird Church was the first story I had written in 15 years.
And that story was... it was so fun because it wasn't your standard narrator. It was a very sarcastic, quirky narrator, and I think that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
and this was like a different 360 or 180 from that.
My husband said that it was very autobiographical. I mean, except for the having a terrible divorce and running into a god monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had several stories on the NoSleep podcast, right, Jennifer?
A couple. Yeah. I had Weird Church and then the Hell Halls of Holy-Ween, which was a lot of fun. They're a great group of people. I actually got to meet everybody in DC back in October.
They're awesome.
That was great. Met some of the other writers too.
They're good people. I catch them every time they come out around here on their tour, and I hang out with them after the show. All amazing people, absolutely.
This right here is what is the best part of this personally for me, is that, Jennifer and Erin and even Brooks have all had their hands in on something that was very influential and to me. It actually really pushed me and motivated me to even take the chance to become a podcaster. And so the fact that this small world of just exceptionally talented people I get to be part of and work alongside you guys, this is, see, listening to this kind of stuff is really what makes everything worth it all the time.
It's a true community. It really is.
It really is. And I think everybody in it that I've encountered, well, with the exception of a few, are very generous with their time and their skills and willing to like trade and barter, and you work on mine and I'll work on yours. And everybody's trying to, push everybody else up in their creative endeavors.
Yeah, you're not even kidding. I mean, David Cummings, again, one of the guys who is exceptionally influential in my decision on this. He's playing a really big role in this season, and
he's so creepy.
Isn't he? He's such a great person.
In the role, he's really creeping me out.
Yeah. Reverend Hicks is a very strange, interesting character that's just seething with hatred. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But in real life, David Cummings is a huge teddy bear. He's such a sweet man. He's such a kind-hearted, loving, caring, supportive person.
Yeah.
So so weird to hear these actors.
He's so cute because I said when I met him in DC, I said, David, I just want to say thank you for putting my stories on the show. And he looked at me with this just sweetest look, and he said, well, thank you for, I can't do his voice, but well, thank you for sharing your stories with me.
I love his accents. Yeah.
So they're all wonderful.
But yeah, like Jason, like where everyone here is saying, podcasting in general, for the most part, is a really interesting community because, I mean, when do you see TV shows trying to help each other out? When do you hear about artists constantly trying to help each other out and lift each other up? It's really podcasting where, like you said, Erin, the bartering and the like, if I can't pay you or you can't pay me, let's work out something else here, because it's all about creativity and bringing sound to amazing writing. It's just such a unique community like no other out there. Podcasting is amazing.
It's a true creative art form collective, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and I hope it stays that way.
I hope so.
Yeah, we got to keep those big companies out. Don't let them make podcasts.
They're all starting to get their hands in the mix.
No, we just got to be better than them, Jason. We can do it.
Yes, sir.
You're already better than them, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say with the help of people like Erin and Jennifer.
I'm going to go do some push-ups after this because I am motivated.
Yes. Let's go start 5 new podcasts. Woo. Okay.
No.
So before we wrap up, I wanted to do kind of a little thing where everyone can share, well, mostly just Erin and Jennifer can share any kind of things that you're currently working on that you wanted to talk about, or future things that you'd like to announce to anybody. Jennifer, do you want to start with that at all?
Well, let me think. I am not writing as much as I would like to right now, just because I'm in the process of getting certified to teach high school. So I'm having to take a lot of classes.
Which thank you for that, by the way. My sister-in-law is an educator, and you guys work really hard, and you don't get appreciated enough. So thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh my gosh, well, 100% true.
I've been teaching in community colleges for most of my career, but I want to try high school. So that's taken a lot of my time. I do have a drabble, which I'd never written before, and I was really surprised at how hard it is to write a 100-word story. It's really hard. The outline was like 1,000 words, and then I had to make the story into 100 words. So there's a drabble coming out from Erie River Publishing called Forgotten Ones, and it's all drabbles of myth and legend. And that's extra special because my son has one in there too, and it's his first time to write a story, and it's going to be published. So it's a mom-son accomplishment there, and it's going to be a fun book.
That's
I think it comes out next month, if I'm not mistaken. It's already, pre-orders are already on Amazon. And then I'm working on a few more stories that I started. I've started, and my goal is to have them finished in the next couple of weeks. And then let's see, a children's book just came out. Mother Goes to Grimm. It's an anthology of children's scary stories for children. And I wrote a story for that based on my twin sister and I had these imaginary friends when we were little called Bloody Mary and Bloody Marvin. So I wrote a story about our imaginary friends. And so that's it.
Nice. Where can people find, like, you're on Twitter, so
I'm
people can follow you on Twitter.
I'm Wordy Winters, and I'm terrible. I'm a terrible self-publicist. That's pretty much the only online presence I have. Twitter. I'm going to expand eventually.
Okay. Well, we'll for sure make sure that we put some nice little show notes together for this, and I'll talk to you later about it. We'll get as much information as you can think of later out there that we can. So we'll be able to direct more readers towards you.
Well,
start
I
reading
appreciate
your
it.
stuff. So
I appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. What about you, Erin?
Oh, I have so many things, but let me tag on to Bloody Mary, since that was the last thing that was mentioned. I'm going to be in the new podcast Less is Morgue, which is by, amongst other people, Henry Galley. His name is popular in the
yes.
the audio horror fiction. And
excellent
his
writer.
girlfriend Meg and Alexis Bristow, all from the NoSleep Podcast, all from Congeria, if you know those names. They're starting their new podcast. I think the first one comes out on Valentine's Day. And several episodes in, I play Bloody Mary in one of the episodes. So that was super fun to record. My audio son Scott is doing all the sound design for that. He was in Congeria too, if you know that show. We just did a fun episode for Old Time Radio for No Sleep. That's for season pass subscribers only, but it's a kind of a musical story. It's called the Sour Toe Shuffle.
Sour Toes.
Oh, that was.
Yeah.
I know the person that wrote that. I just it showed up in my podcast feed today, so I'm excited to listen.
Oh, sweet! It came out.
Radio later. Nice. Yeah, it came out today. They released it today, so or at least it's on my podcast app.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I am coming to be in another podcast called Call Signs, but that's in pre-production. There is. I just came out in a video game called Simulacra 2, where I play the villain. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a really good show that we're doing a 3-episode teaser arc on through the Hit Record platform called Honor and Villainy, which I'm really excited about. But that I think is still in a pre-production launch. But when that comes out, I'll tell everybody.
Sweet.
Yeah, that video game thing's cool too. That's a big step.
Yeah, well, I've been in a few indie games, and I didn't know how popular this Simulacra series was until somebody sent me a video that was like, "Oh my god, that was you!" And I didn't even know the video game came out.
Wow!
And there's all these playthroughs and people freaking out about it. So I guess Simulacra 2 is something I should promote more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. On how to shoot, heck.
But. Jason, what are you working on? I hear that you have this little podcast called The Grey Rooms.
Yeah, the Grey Rooms. I'm keeping that. Plus, I'm currently beginning the brainstorming phase of another podcast idea, kind of similar in the realm with a small narrative and anthology kind of stories, but more than one anthology per episode. And it's another one I have. Actually, I have like 2 or 3 I'm brainstorming right now.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, I just... Yeah, I can't help it, man. I just got these bad dreams or weird ideas, and I just start writing it down. But yeah, other than that, nothing really. I get to work with, again, such great and talented individuals, and which, by the way, Miss Lillis, again, I'm a huge fan of yours. Thank you ever so much for being part of this.
I'm a fan too, Erin. I'm a big fan.
Thank you so much. It's weird to have fans.
Yeah,
I'm your biggest fan. Never forget.
No, I absolutely know that. I have a picture of you on my wall.
No.
Thank you.
And then, Miss Winters, I do hope that we have the opportunity to read more of your work because this was wonderful. And
thank you so much.
Pleasure working with you again.
Thank you so much. I was for season 1, and that's the reason I sent the story in. So I was like, please let it be me. Please let it be me.
And we can't forget, I always try to bring this up. We kind of talked about Cassie a bit. She's such an exceptionally talented artist. And,
yes,
absolutely wonderful as far as with our web development, which we're getting ready, hopefully, to have a new website up. It's our second season. We're learning how to, kind of stretch our wings and to fly. And, we're figuring it out. But she's just so wonderful. We can't give her enough credit for everything she's done to just kind of, she's the boss. She's the boss. She tells us what the heck to do when we get it done. And then Grimm obviously is just such a wonder. My wife calls him the angel of the podcast because he is just such a wonderful individual to work with and exceptionally talented. I'm always so impressed with.
Very, very generous too.
Oh my God, he's such a great guy. I love Grimm so much. And then we can never ever forget J.M. Scherf. His music brings, if you like any of the stuff I do, let me tell you, if you take the music out of there and you listen to it without it, it's nowhere near what it is. So J.M. Scherf is, I love that man. His music is phenomenal. And I thought the soundtrack for this episode was bar none one of his best. I loved it.
Yeah, he just keeps topping himself. It's like you can never pick your favorite because he's just going to do better again next time. It's
Well,
it's really
actually, for those out there listening too on this, we do have a Patreon, and they actually, what is it, Brooks? On Tuesdays, is it?
every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday,
Yeah.
we release what's called the Dismal Dirge, and basically, he takes the podcast, the episode music, and he condenses it and changes it and makes an actual musical track. So he's putting together a compilation of music for the podcast, pretty much making like essentially a CD, if anybody knows what those are anymore.
Well, that's really cool.
That's very cool.
Compact disc. You know, one thing we forgot to mention here right before we all say goodbye. It's February, which means it is Women in Horror Month.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome that the first episode of February, wait, was it? Yeah, because Friday was the third. Anyways, the first episode of February. Here we are. You have our female author and our female actor, as well as we have Sarah Ruth Thomas as our season narrative actor who plays Samantha Winters. I kind of wish that we didn't have to like point it out on a 1 month a year. It should be like 12 months a year should be Women in Horror Month. Like it's so important to highlight, of course. So that's why we do have February.
Absolutely.
But I just want to thank the both of you again for everything.
And if
Thank
anybody
you've done.
listening wants to put me in more horror things, I'm happy to be more of a woman of horror for everyone.
Put Erin in everything,
Every
please.
horror,
Everybody.
please.
Every one of them. All of them. And Jennifer, you should just write all the horror stories.
I'm a rom horror.
Rom horror.
Rom horror,
I don't
there you
know
go,
if I
rom
can
horror,
pull
rom
another
horror.
one off. I'm just so anti-romantic, but I got another look from my husband. But it's funny because I try to write other stuff and it all turns into horror. So I guess that's what I'm meant to do.
It's your calling. Can I ask, do either one of you feel though that female authors are well represented, at least in the horror community, or we still have more to work on there? What do you think?
You know, I personally seek out female narratives and female leads and female authors. So I feel like there's plenty, but that might be because I have a narrow people. I said peephole.
Okay.
Peephole.
People.
Yeah.
I've met
People.
some really incredible women authors and actors and editors and publishers.
And speaking of women in horror, I forgot to mention Calling Darkness Season 2 was just announced.
Calling Darkness.
right.
Dun, dun, dun.
So much fun.
Brilliant horror
It is
comedy.
So much
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. We did have, y'all are familiar with Blair Daniels?
Yes. I
You know,
know who
she
that is.
edited an anthology, Daughters of Darkness, that's all women.
Yeah, I really wanted to be in that, and I couldn't get my shit together in time to write something.
Well, Weird Church is in there, so you can just read it out.
Oh, I can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Jennifer. I'll bug you about this later. That you can give me some pointers that we can add in the show notes for some good female authors that our fans can seek out. So that'll be awesome.
Well, thank you again.
Pleasure.
You're
Yeah.
wonderful. And Brooke, love
So-
you to death too, man, on that.
Well,
This was fun.
well, thank you, everybody.
Let's do it
Yeah,
again
this is
next
great.
Sunday.
Okay.
Okay, round 2. Yeah,
Write some more stuff.
Okay,
We can-
record some more stuff.
All right.
Well, there you go. We'll have everything done within the next few days, and we'll be ready to go.
Okay, you guys.
Hedgehog
Cast
Family
me in
Part
more
2.
stuff.
Catch me
Ram.
outside.
Cast me outside, all right?
Well, okay. I want to thank Jennifer Winters,
Thank you.
the author of The Hedgehog Family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this and for doing a phenomenal job with my story.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
That's all Jason right there. Jason and Jane.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you to Erin Lillis,
Thank
our
you.
fantastic actor who played Christy.
Thank you for having me.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know, all right? Slick my hair
Your
back.
Oscar's in the mail.
Thank you. It is Oscar night.
Yeah.
Oscar
I'm
night.
going to make it down to Atchison. I'm telling you, I'm going to figure it out.
Like, wait, you guys didn't even ask me what I was wearing. I'm wearing
What
my
are you
ball
going to wear
gown.
to Oscar night?
I'm wearing it already. It's like a crystalline, like unicorn style glitter, like multifaceted ball gown.
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous.
I want this. I want that voice in something. I want that voice in something. I want her.
Okay, just
Okay, I'll write something. I'll write something just for that voice.
Oh, that's funny.
We're going to retain you for that, Erin. You're going to play that character someday.
That's
it's going to happen. Last, let's thank Jason Wilson, the man who created this podcast, the man who had a terrible dream one night that inspired him to make this podcast, the man that puts all the sound together and all the effects. Jason, you are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. You're amazing.
Yay! Round of applause.
Yes.
Love you guys.
And then there's me, and I thank myself, I guess.
And on that note, we
Thank
stop
you,
recording.
Brooks.
Just kidding.
Brooks is the bomb.com. I did have the luxury of meeting Brooks in person very recently, and it was a blast.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, Brooks. Good.
Yeah, we had dinner.
I want to meet
together.
all of you. I want you all to come to my house. Mi
All
casa,
right.
su casa.
All right.
Everybody come to Maryland.
We'll hold you to that.
Sounds
I
like a
mean
plan.
Y'all come now.
Well, you're close enough to my hometown,
Okay.
so that's possible. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That does it for our Behind the Door episode for Season 2, Episode 6. Please join us again in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Join us each week after every episode for another edition of Behind the Door.